So, you're planning a career in aviation, right? Whether you see yourself in management or as part of the cabin crew, there's a system you absolutely have to get your head around. It's really the bedrock of the entire industry, the Quality Management System, or QMS. Today, we're going to unpack the ISO 9001 framework that holds it all together.
Let's start with what's at stake here. I mean, this quote pretty much says it all. In the world of aviation, there are no second chances. There are no do-overs. That commitment to safety and reliability, it isn't just a nice goal to have. It's the fundamental price of entry, period.
And that's the big question, isn't it? When perfection is the only acceptable standard, how do you possibly build an entire organization that can deliver on that promise day in and day out across thousands of employees and literally millions of moving parts?
Well, the answer is you do it by design, not by chance. And the industry's answer is this structured, formalized framework we call a quality management system. So let's break down what that actually means. Think of a QMS as the organization's official rulebook for excellence. And it's not just some dusty binder sitting on a shelf, okay? It's a living, breathing system that directs and controls everything an organization does when it comes to quality. It makes sure that every single action, from a maintenance check to an in-flight service, is done consistently and correctly, every single time.
And, the benefits here are just huge, no matter where you end up working. A really solid QMS directly boosts safety, it slashes operational risks, and it makes things more efficient, which, of course, saves money. And for your future role, it guarantees you're following all those strict regulations from authorities like the FAA or EASA. But maybe most importantly, it builds the one thing you can't buy: passenger trust.
So where does this whole framework even come from? Well, for a ton of industries, including aviation, the blueprint is a set of international standards. And the most foundational one, the one that started it all, is ISO 9001.
Now, there are a bunch of documents in what's called the ISO 9000 family, but the 9001 standard is the one that really matters. Why? Because it's the only one that lays out the actual requirements an airline can be certified against. You can think of it like the final exam. If you pass this test, you're proving to regulators, and just as importantly to your passengers, that your organization has a rock-solid system for managing quality.
The standard itself is organized into 8 sections, or clauses. Now, the first 3 are just introductory. They kind of set the stage, define the scope, and the vocabulary. But the real meat, the part you need to know, is in clauses 4 through 8. These are called the shall clauses. That means they contain the mandatory requirements that an organization must, not should, but must, follow to get certified.
And these 5 clauses are basically the pillars of the entire QMS. It all starts with Clause 4, which sets up the general system requirements. Then Clause 5 puts the responsibility for quality squarely on the shoulders of senior management. Clause 6 is all about resources, having the right planes, the right facilities, and properly trained crew. Clause 7, product realization. Well, that's the heart of the operation. For you, this is the actual delivery of a flight or the cabin service. And finally, Clause 8 closes the loop, demanding constant measurement and improvement.
Okay, so here's the most crucial part. How is all this stuff managed? ISO 9001 isn't about managing departments, it's about managing processes. This is a huge shift in thinking, and it's called the process approach. So what's a process? It's really simple. It's just any activity that uses resources to turn an input into an output. This example here is perfect. The input, a passenger's dietary request. The process, that involves cabin crew procedures, catering systems, all that communication. And the output, the correct meal gets delivered to the right seat. An entire airline is really just a massive collection of these interconnected processes.
And this model shows exactly how it all connects in what we call the customer loop. It always starts with the customer's needs as the input. Then the airline's processes, flight ops, cabin service, ground crew, they all work to realize the product. The output is, of course, the passenger's experience. But, and this is critical, the loop doesn't stop there. The system requires the airline to measure customer satisfaction and feed that information right back to management. That feedback is what drives constant improvement. See? It all begins and ends with the customer. All right, so let's take this down from 30,000 feet. We've talked about the theory in ISO 9000. Now let's see how it's actually applied in the very unique, high-stakes world of the aerospace industry. So while ISO 9001 is a fantastic foundation, it's a pretty general standard meant for any industry. The aerospace sector, well, it needs more.
So the industry takes the base of ISO 9001 and then adds a whole layer of extra, more stringent requirements on top, creating standards like the AS 9100 series, which are specifically built to handle aviation's unique risks. Within that series, you're going to run into two key standards. AS 9100 is for the manufacturers. Think Boeing, Airbus, the companies that design and build the aircraft and all its parts. It's super focused on product safety and controlling the supply chain. Then you've got AS 9110, which is absolutely critical on the operational side. It's designed specifically for maintenance, repair, and overhaul, or MRO organizations, and it zeroes in on the processes needed to keep an aircraft safe and airworthy. And you can see these QMS processes playing out everywhere in an airline. In flight ops, it's all about managing pilot certifications and training records. For those of you in cabin services, it's making sure those in-flight service procedures are followed to the letter every single time. And in maintenance, it's the intense, rigorous tracking of every part and every repair. Each department has its own defined processes that all feed into the quality of the whole operation. Okay, let's zoom out for a second. We've been talking a lot about quality, but in aviation, you can't say that word without also thinking of another one: safety. It is so important to understand how they relate and, more importantly, what your role is in both.
This is a question that comes up all the time, and it's a really important one to get straight. Are a quality management system and a safety management system basically doing the same thing? The short answer is no, but they are deeply connected. A QMS is mostly focused on the customer, delivering a consistent, reliable service that meets their expectations. The goal is satisfaction. A safety management system, or SMS, on the other hand, is all about proactively finding hazards and managing safety risks before they can cause an accident. Its goal is achieving an acceptable level of safety. They're two different systems with two different goals, but they have to work together perfectly. And this really brings us to the single most important thing to take away from all of this. Quality is not just the job of some quality department. In aviation, quality has to be a culture. It's a shared mindset, a collective responsibility where everyone understands that their job, no matter how small it seems, directly contributes to the safety and reliability of the entire operation. So, as you go through your studies and get ready to start your careers, I want you to remember this. A QMS gives you the framework, the processes, the procedures, but a framework is totally useless without people who are committed to it. This isn't just about ticking boxes on a checklist. It's about understanding the why behind every single step. So the real question to ask yourself is, what will your contribution be to that culture of quality?